Welcome to this video, which features the Irish customs on Bealtaine or May Day, and also on the history of the fires of Uisneach, and especially the Hill of Uisneach itself. 𝕭𝖊𝖆𝖏.
Traditional May Day customs in Ireland. May Day, being the first day of the month of May, is one of the quarterly days in the traditional Irish calendar. Each one of these quarter days indicates the start of a new season. Spring is marked by 1st of February, which is 𝕭𝖆𝖆𝖆𝖏. Autumn is by the 1st of August, 𝕭𝖆𝖆𝖆𝖊, and winter by the 1st of November, or 𝕊𝖆. There are also folk customs associated with the eves of these festivals, marking the season of transition. As much of Northern Europe, May Day in Ireland was a celebration and welcome of the summer. Here it is rooted in the pre-Christian festival of Bealtaine. Bealtaine embraces the summer, bidding farewell to the dark winter half of the year. Flowers, dancing and bonfires feature strongly in these festivities. People also sought protection from themselves, their homes and livestock against supernatural forces. It was also a busy time in the land. May Day was regarded as a symbolic start of a busy season of farm work. People worked in the fields, focusing on the care of animals and their movement to different pastures. There was also an emphasis on fishing, for example, for salmon. It was a busy time for markets and marts in order to sell animals, and at this time seasonal labourers were hired. The important job of cutting turf in the bogs also started in earnest around May Day. Traditionally, on the 1st of May and 1st of November, tenant farmers paid their half-yearly rents to landlords. These were known as Gale days. G-A-L-E as in wind, not G-A-L as in Irish. People also took stock of their food supply. They had to sustain them until the crops could be harvested later on in the year. Traditions associated with May include May bushes, May flowers, May bows, May poles, and May bonfires. All are associated with luck and protection. Now, May bush. This is a decorated bush which in rural areas was left outside the house. In towns, it was erected in a communal place. Sometimes it's carried about the area by groups of adults, although later this custom was carried out by children. Geographically, the tradition was strongest in Leinster and the Midlands, stretching west to Galway and northwards to South Ulster and Donegal. The bush was often of hawthorn. The decoration usually consisted of ribbons, cloth streamers, and perhaps tinsel. Some of the leftover coloured eggshells painted for Easter Sunday were also used as decorations. On occasion, candles were also lit to it. Long life, a pretty wife, and a candle for the May bush was a rhyme recounted by children in Dublin when looking for a contribution of candles, money, or sweets for their May Day festivities. Sometimes communal bushes were burnt on May evening. The bush was associated with the look of the house or the community, and in cities it was watched carefully in case a rival group would attempt to steal it. The custom of erecting a May bush still survives in the individual household tradition, particularly in the Midlands. Now, the May bough or bow. May bough is a larger version of the May bush and was most popular in Munster. Instead of a small bush, a larger part of a tree was used. This was either for outside homes or for use in some public area in the community. It was decorated similarly to the May bush. Now, what did surprise me is that maypoles are used in Ireland, but not as much. You will see a map in this video as well, which actually indicate all the different areas around Ireland. Now, the maypoles are popular in some large towns and possibly indicate a certain English influence. In this festive way, communities welcomed in the summer. There are maypoles in many towns such as Kilkenny, Mountmellick, Kildare and Longford, again belonging to the Pale. There was also a strong tradition in the northeast of Ireland, such as Holywood, County Down. Originally tall trees were used, but later they were replaced by formal poles erected in the town centre. They were decorated with flowers and ribbons, and like in England, where tradition was more widespread, dancing and sports centred around the pole. Now, as for mayflowers were picked on the evening before May Day, and it was often done by children who went garlanding for flowers. These were sometimes assembled together to make posies or crowns. Yellow flowers such as primroses, buttercups and marigolds were especially popular, possibly because they reflected the sun and summer. Furze and fern were also put around the outside of the home. The flowers were placed on the doorsteps of houses and on windowsills. They were believed to offer luck to the house and offer protection from mystical forces. There was a strong held belief that these were particularly active during the quarterly days, and it is also believed that the Fairies, or the 𝖎, could not enter the home as long as they could not pass such a sweet smelling flower. They are often put on farm animals as to protect them from being overlooked by people with the evil eye, who might through envy steal the productivity of the animals. The tradition of spreading flowers at thresholds is most common in the northern half of Ireland, especially in South Ulster. Throughout Ireland, the strong tradition of formally showing welcome through the spreading of rushes. Children often carried baskets of flowers and threw them in front of their neighbours' homes as a gesture of goodwill and good luck. Sometimes mayflowers were placed in the local well, so protect the water supply and the livelihood of those who use it. The stealing or skimming of water from the well or dew from the fields of a neighbour by those with evil intentions was believed to result in lack of produce achieved by the household or the community. Water or fire was generally never asked to be taken from the home on May Eve or May Day, as so to retain the look of the house. Mayflower water was taken from the well on May Day was said to offer protection and cures. This water and May morning dew was believed to be good protection good for the complexion. A traditional riddle: I wash my face in water that has never rained nor run dry. Dry it with a towel that was never wove or spun, which means face washed in May dew and dried in the open air. Never cast a cloud until May is out is an expression warning of not shedding too many winter layers until the end of the month of May. Herbs gathered before sunrise on May Day were believed to have particular effective curative properties. Now, May Queens and May Poles. The flowers were also used for the crowning of the May Queen. The tradition of selecting a queen or of May is found throughout Europe and may have associations with the ancient Roman goddess Flora. Like the maypoles, this tradition is more popular in large towns. It is often accompanied by a procession and sports and festivities. In some parts of Ulster, a king was chosen along with queen. Sometimes there was a bush carried in the procession, on which there was hurling balls hanging. May Day traditionally marked the start of summer hurling, and in Kilkenny, women gifted men with new hurling balls on this day. In parts of South Ulster, there was an effigy of a female May Queen, carried on a pole through by a procession. This is decorated with flowers. There is a reference to a similar floral decorated May baby in parts of Monaghan. Idir dá tina bealta. The expression Idir dá tina bealta means between the two fires of May, and is similar in meaning with the expression of being between a rock and a hard place. Driving cattle through the embers of May fires was undertaken to gain their good health for the coming year. Bonfires were a feature of May Eve throughout Europe in the tradition survived mainly in the east of Ireland and in some parts of Munster. Although there were small local and family bonfires to ensure good luck, the tradition of larger communal fires survived, especially in the cities, for example, Limerick and Belfast. In the West, the bonfire night was most celebrated on John's Eve, and elsewhere on Halloween is the night for fires. Dancing is a huge feature of May bonfire celebrations. It is also featured around the maypole or where communal May bushes were burnt. It is a time for celebrating the continuity of the community. The customary dance involved the men and women joining hands to form a large circle and a dancer weaving in and out of the circle under the arms and collecting other dancers to follow them. This has been described as representing a winding serpent and as representing the movements of the sun. It is similar to the children's game In and Out Go the Dusty Bluebells. These bluebell flowers were traditionally picked in May. May is especially associated with butter stealing. The stealing of the butter profit of the home. The cows were safeguarded through the attaching flowers around their heads, and sometimes red ribbons or bits of rowan were tied to their tails. This is believed to offer them protection from the malign glance of those with the evil eye. The churn was especially vulnerable at this time, so often similar items or iron objects were placed underneath it. All those who visited the house at this time were encouraged to take a dash of the churn. They usually accompanied this with a prayer. Well water was often sprinkled on the animals, the churn, and objects associated with dairying. Some of the early buttery prints in the National Museum's collection reflect this belief and are shaped like an eye. May butter was often kept and used in small quantities to add to the churn and dairy items for good luck and protection. A quotation. People used to make the May Eve churn, and the butter of that churn was salted and put away for the coming year. Each night and morning before the milk was put in the pans, the woman got a small piece of butter of the May Eve churn and put it in the pan and put in new milk. The power of this butter prevents the milk and cream from being taken by pishogues or any other supernatural power. This quote was written by Miss Hannah Daly of Anaskal, County Kerry in 1941. Now, it's also associated with divination. May Eve and May Day was also a time to divine the future. Women tried with snails and flour to foretell the man they would marry. When gorse is out of blossom, kissing's out of fashion. A furze, which is also known as gorse, is in flower from February to May. It's also time to study the weather, and the weather of the month of May would forecast what is expected to follow the summer. A wet May and dry June makes the farmer whistle a tune. A swarm of bees in May is worth a load of hay. A wet and windy May fills the barns with corn and hay. Now, in summary, May Day in Ireland was a festival to welcome the summer and to protect the family and livelihood of the farm from supernatural forces. It is also a festival celebrated with flowers, fires and dancing, and a strong link to the same holiday celebrated throughout Northern Europe. Now, the Bealtaine Festival was revived on the Hill of Uisneach in 2009, and today's festival remains as much as it was in ancient times, a chance to meet old friends, make new ones, and it's a family-friendly event that welcomes the different tua to celebrate the beginning of summer in the sacred centre of Ireland. In 2017, the ceremonial fire was lit by An Uachtaráin, or the President of Ireland, Michael D. Higgins, making him the first Irish head of state to do so since the last 𝕭𝖊𝖆𝖊, or High King, nearly 1,000 years ago. Now, the origins of Uisneach lie far beyond recorded history, with surviving monuments and relics dating from the Neolithic, which would be 3,700 to 2,500 BCE, and Bronze Ages, 2,500 to 500 BCE, which confirm its ceremonial status in prehistoric times. There is no definitive translation of the word Uisneach, as it predates the Irish Gaelic language. It's also translated as place of the heart or angular place, indicating a ceremonial sanctuary. Early written sources on the area in which Uisneach is located is recorded as Mead, meaning middle, originally a name for the hill itself. Uisneach Midi, or the heart of the centre. Over time, the territory expanded to become the medieval kingdom of Meath, which gives its name to modern counties of Meath and Westmeath. The first known map of Ireland, created by the Greek cartographer Claudius Ptolemy in 140 AD, is thought to have shown Uisneach, which Ptolemy called Reba, at its centre. It is just above Annika in small writing in the accompanying map. Since pre-Christian times, the hill has been regarded as the ceremonial and sacred centre of Ireland, the meeting point of the ancient promises, where laws were struck and divisions agreed. In later years, when Tara became the political seat of the 𝕭𝖊𝖆𝖊 of Ireland, Uisneach retained its position as the country's spiritual centre. It is customary for the 𝕭𝖊𝖆𝖊 to ritually marry the sovereign goddess, which represents land, at an inauguration ceremony known as Bannéirí, or the wedding feast of the kingship. This ceremony may have been part of the Ardèche Uisneach, or a great assembly and fair held at the beginning of Bealtaine, when the great fire was lit in the hill to mark the onset of summer. In the first millennium AD, Uisneach became the chief resident and assembly site of the clan Coleman kings, who ruled over the kingdom of Meath, and some even becoming 𝕭𝖊𝖆𝖊 of Ireland. The last of these was Máel Senel Mór, who became the 𝕭𝖊𝖆 in 980 AD. His reign lasted until 999 AD, when Brian Boru came to Uisneach to claim sovereignty over Meath and ultimately the 𝕭𝖊𝖆𝖊 of Ireland. However, after Brian's death at the Battle of Clontarf in 1014, Máel Sechnaill was reinstated as ardrí and reigned until his own death in 1022. As well as royalty, Uisneach was the residence of important families of poets. 𝕭𝖊 Mór Coffey, described as being chief poet of Ireland and Scotland, was born at Uisneach in the mid-16th century, and in the 19th and early 20th centuries, Uisneach was the site of great political rallies, with Daniel O'Connell, Padraig Pearse, and Eamon de Valera addressing huge crowds from the top of the 𝕭𝖊 na Moran, or the famous landmark stone. The famous writer, Irish Jim Irish writer James Joyce was a regular visitor, enthralled by Uisneach's many stories. He later mentioned the hill in his novel Finnegan's Wake, referring to Ilmoran as the mere